All right, hi there. I'm back. It's been a while, I know. So I'm going to be back continuing this project with our LMS using Next.js, Storybook, Superbase, and Radix UI. So just a recap of where we got to. We have a component here. Okay, so we got our header component. We've got basically that's all we've got set up at the moment in our project. We're trying to build our components in isolation using the Storybook. And in Storybook, we will flesh out all our components that we can use, but are not sort of the layout, the stuff that's going to be reused as much as possible. So that includes things like the buttons, the header, footer, etc. um, that kind of stuff. Nothing that's real, I guess, layout specific. Okay, so what have we done so far with the LMS? Not a lot. We've got a home page. I think we've got one other page where we're listing out some data. We've got Superbase connected up to it. We've got a couple of tables. We've got courses. We've got students and some supplementary tables around those too. Okay, so if you haven't been keeping up, might pay to have a look at the project. I'm just going to paste that into the chat. Okay, so that should come up shortly. And if not, it should be part of the description as well. What I'm going to do next is try and uh, get some of these Radix components, wrap them in our own layers so that we can manipulate them how we would like to use them, and try and get those set up and ready. So let's jump into Chrome and I can show you that. Okay, so that's the project there. We've got the LMS, just the actual dev environment there, localhost 3000. So not much to see there. We've got some next one component that I'm going to make. I'm going to make a button, and I'm going to give it the options to have a icon as well. So I'll set that up shortly. We've got our wireframes. So we've got our home page there, sign up, course overview, course detail. Okay, so that's all we've got so far. We've got a storybook and we've got Superbase. Cool. Okay, let's get started. We'll start off with this button. Uh, Easy way to get started is I'm literally going to copy this example code and I'm going to place that into our project. Let's switch to code. Okay, so I'm going to create a new component and this is going to be button. So keep it generic like so. And we need to actually import that from the Radix UI. Now, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I'm just going to grab that from the website, view the source. Go, so we want to import from Radix here. I believe it's button from your Radix UI themes set. Cool, it's come up. Awesome. And we'll import the icons as well. Actually, we won't. We won't. We want to make that a property that we can add to the component so that the person using that component can easily style as necessary. Okay, we're going to make this a button. Just going to prefix all my components so it's obvious which ones are pre-built and which ones are my own. And I'm going to move this up into the return there. Okay. Return like that. It would help if I made use the right brackets there. Okay. So I'm going to drop out this component here. And we'll make that an input. So this could be the icon. And we're going to need a title and a icon. Like so. Cool. Okay, so it's super basic. We're taking a title in, we're taking the icon. The icon can be provided, which is awesome. We need to actually have a story for that so that we can actually display that. So button.stories. And I'm going to grab the header one to get started, just as a boilerplate. Just remember, I've got my LMS button in front of it. I don't know what I've done wrong already. I have not named this correctly. Okay. All right. Keep forgetting it's the other way around. So that's the component itself. There is this is the name that's going to be there in both the URL and in our storybook. Okay, let's check. Looks like Storybooks has built. Let's switch back to Chrome. Okay, let's go to our storybook. Let's refresh this. Okay, now we can see we've got an LMS button there. We've got a problem. That's okay, we'll figure that out in a sec. So it's missing a default export there. So probably on my component itself, I'm missing that default export. Let's go back to Chrome. To VS Code. Okay, so I've got no default there. Like so. Okay, switch back to Chrome. Refresh that. Object's not valid as a React child. Object with keys. Objects are not valid if a child key. If you're meant to render a collection of children, use an array instead. Not getting any errors here. So what do we got? We've got our title, we've got our icon, we've got our button. That should be fine. Do we need to have this wrapped in some braces? That's where I went wrong. Okay, so back on Chrome, we can see I've got a button there, so it's got no title at the moment. So I can actually add some parameters to this in a sec. You can see there is a button. It's not very looking very nice. We need to install all the providers here for the UI. Okay, so we've got the button there, we've got the title in our default arguments here. We can give the title. We can give a default one there. Let's just keep that for now. Swap back to, there we go. So that's the button. Here's the code. We've got that default value in there. Okay, so if we're showing the code, what do we see there? We've got the LMS button and we've got a title. So we can update this on the fly. This is the real reason we want to use something like Storybook, because we can do this. As we change it, then we get that sort of real-time view there. So we get that actually looking like it's supposed to. Okay, next steps. Okay, so we've got that working. It seems I've got some problems with my audio here. No, it's working. Sorry, I had the mic hidden off screen, so I couldn't see that. I'm just going to bump that up so I can see. Really important, being able to hear me. Okay, so we've got the LMS button there. We've got the header. Okay, let's keep going. So this button's going to need more than that, and it's at the moment it's not actually getting these Radix themes coming back through. If we look at what is in the actual documentation here, we can see we've actually got quite a few more properties and stuff that we can add to it, which we'll do in a sec. But the problem is we're not able to see the fact that it's getting the styling there from the theme. Okay, so what are we missing here? Let's find out. Let's go back into the code. Sorry, so if we're looking at this, this is the button. See here, as child size variant. We'll pull those through shortly. And we've got the code here. So let's jump to that. Now, why is it not getting our theming? What's wrong? Okay, so if we look at the app itself, we've got a page layout. Okay, so we're not even getting that, are we? We're layout here. Now, it could be because we're missing this theme part of Radix UI themes in our components here. So let's actually test that. We can test that by grabbing the Radix UI themes here. I'm just going to grab this initially and see if it's just the CSS. If it's not that, we'll also add the theme as well. Okay, let's switch back to Chrome. Sorry. Okay, so it's not just that. We're going to have to also have the theme in there, I guess, as well. So let's go into code again. And where was it? That was in the page, wasn't it? Or was it layout? Layout. So I need the theme. We need to put this in our story rather than in here. Okay, so we've got the theme. And we can just wrap this component like so. Let's see if this works. Otherwise, we're going to have to make a wrapper of some sort. Okay, so expected a string. Okay, so we can't get away with that. We're going to have to look at how we can do that to our storybook so that we can actually get those values in there. Let's undo that. It's a little bit trickier. We can test our theme styling potentially by placing it into the layout here. And actually, no, I'll do it into the page because we've got the home there. Let's put our button in. Title. Okay, cool. So it's fine once it's in the actual application when it's wrapped in that theme. Let's try and do the same with our storybook. A couple of ways maybe we can do that. We can actually have a look to see if they're using Storybook in the project for Radix. That might be able to help us. So you've got a playground here. Okay, so that just wraps that there. Okay, so they've got a theme provider. Okay. Okay, so we can't use that. Like, we're not the only ones that have had the same issue. What have they done? No. Styling add-on. Okay, so providing global styles. Okay, that's looking like what we need. With it, we can add a theme provider. Very similar to what Mui's doing with Radix UI. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go back up to the top here. First of all, we are on Storybook 7, I believe. Let's double check that. Yes, 7.5.1. Okay, so let's go back to code. Stop the storybook. Continue with our dev here. Got to do the alternative because this is not yarn. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so that's added that to our storybook. Now we need to go and update. So we've added that. We've got our, once installed, open your storybook main.js file and add the storybook. Pop up the text. Add the storybook add-on styling in the add-ons array. So we've got stories. Let's open up our code again. Now where's the configuration file? So it's in the dot storybook main. Okay, so we've got add-ons there. Back in our code here, we've got our add-on styling now. Gonna save that. Okay. Let's come back to Chrome. Okay, so we've added our add-on there. We need to provide global styles next. If your global styles are defined in CSS files, you can import your style sheets in the Storybook preview.js file. Storybook will load any files imported here on every story render. That sounds like us. So let's look for this .storybook preview.js. And we'll just sneak ahead. Here we go. So we could wrap this potentially in our theme provider. Okay, so what I'm going to do, grab that line and I'll grab the next one. Okay, let's go back to code. Let's look at this preview. Okay. So we want to import the theme for Radix. Go. So that's going to import the theme there. We probably will have to import the CSS, but let's stop that for now. Let's look at what's next in our preview. So there was a need for decorators. Okay, so do we have any decorators? No, we don't have any decorators. And we want to put this theme here. Okay. Right. Okay, so we've actually got quite some cool controls here. We've actually got the ability here to set a background color, which is fine for now. We'll just leave it like that. We've set up this theme provider, so hopefully that will work. Let's run our storybook again. So far, so good. Let's switch back to Chrome. Go to our storybook here. Just do a refresh. With theme from JSX provider, so I probably have to pull that in from storybook itself. What would it be under? We've got blocks, we've got Next.js. Let's see if that. Oh, okay, we've got our theme from JSX provider. That's still not working. Okay, so what do we need? What are we missing? Got the Radix theme there. Got this decorators. Do we actually have to supply that? Actions, controls. Ah, decorators. We did it wrong. We could still potentially just add it under here. Hmm. Okay, I found an example. Okay. I've got a React app, got some HTML, got the storybook being pulled in, and we've got a source here. So we've got the app. We're using, oh, this is using style components. This is not, does not seem to be using, what I expected it to be. That's no good. Okay, so let's look into, let's go back to the help here. Here we go. This is probably where I've gone wrong. Okay. It's tricky when you're trying to learn something new. Okay, let's go back up to the top here. What have we got? We're getting the theme, okay, from the Radix UI. We're not getting the theme provided from the right component. So what that should be is with theme provider, should be in braces, starters. And this comes from instead add-on. That's dash styling there. There we go. Okay, nice. Okay, so done that. We've got our decorators down here. We've got our global styles. So this is what we should be pulling in for our CSS. Now we've got that happening in our layout, I believe. Yes. So let's pull that in and turn to our story. Sorry, wrong one again. It's our config for Storybook, which is our main.js. Right. Doing that. Sorry, it's preview. Getting it all wrong. Maybe I have to make it a constant. Maybe that'll work. So take that base style, pipe that into the global styles. Okay, and then we can add our themes. Just that theme component. Okay, so we've got that theme. We're pulling that into our story here. And we've also got the themes there. We've also got we'd actually need this. We can just use the actual provider. And that is our theme. We're just going to use the default one. And let's get rid of that. Okay, so decorators with theme provider from JSX provider, global style space. Let's go back to our storybook. Okay, so what are we doing wrong now? With theme provider is not a function. Maybe we don't need these decorators like so. It's not part of the parameter object I had. So we're not going to do the themes. We are going to do the provider, which is our theme up there. And we get to our base style. Still having problems with this. I'm going to search for this theme provider. And with Chrome. Okay, so we're going to be using it with Radix UI. Let's see if we can find an example. So that one says it's missing. It's talking about style components. Doesn't just work. Okay. Provide a theme, add-on styling, global styles is the base. Let's start off with just dropping the theme there. Let's see if that actually helps. Okay, so it's not liking this one, but Let's see if it's affected. Oh, wow, okay, so it's really broken stuff. Sometimes it pays just to comment stuff out to get it going. Let's make sure if it is working properly. Okay, this is looking a bit better. Okay, so we've still got a problem there. Let's have a quick look at what that actually is looking like. So it has got some classes on it, but none of them are being pulled in from the Radix UI. Okay. Let's try and add that in. Okay, so as soon as we do that, it's not working without the theme provider. Okay, still not working. We added the theme provider in, and it's still not working. Storybook add-on styling is not a function. Let's look for that. Okay, let's see if this example. Okay, we can't see that. So the older styling here. There's no storybook.js. It's old. Let's go and look at our issues here. With theme by class name from Storybook add-on themes, but I believe this issue might be with all theme functions. I'm using with themes by class name to pass on the light theme dark mode. Okay, that's something similar. What was our one was with theme provider though. It's quite common when you're searching for sort of open source projects. Sometimes it's easier just to go to the issue. Looks like this is another issue that someone else has about 3 days ago. Let's see if ours is any different to then. This saying it's from add-on themes. Okay, let's just make sure that we've got it correctly. Oh, maybe it's looking like it's different. Ooh, this looks better. Module not found. Okay, so not that one, possibly. We'll have to go into the documentation here. Again, this is with style components, which we're not really. Yeah, this one's got with add-on styling. So that's what we had previously. Okay, Storybook add-on styling is deprecated in favor of Storybook add-on themes for the functionality that you're looking for, however, was never intended for React Native Storybook. Okay, so it's still meant to be that. Okay. Let's go find the documentation. Is there a search? First things first. Okay, global theming. That's not what I want. That's a dark and light theme. What about? That's completely not what I want. Okay, let's go down here. Testing, snapshot testing, interaction testing, test runner, sharing, design integrations. It's Storybook and Figma. So we can have that preview head. We can have a preview body. Maybe this is what we actually need. Let's try that. All right, I'm going to revert all these previews. So I've got a couple of changes that I've made. We'll leave those there for now, and we'll add on, once we get the theme working with the preview body, that way, when we do this, we can do let's just put a div, the class name, worked, just like that. Okay, I'll stop that. Preview's been reverted. Preview body's now there. Sorry, let's show that in code so you guys can see. So I've added this preview body and I put a class name. Let's go back to Chrome. That's not cool. That doesn't seem to be showing. It's not in the HTML. Let's find out more about this preview body. So story rendering should be no different for JavaScript. Storybook will inject these tags into the preview iframe where your components rendered, not the Storybook application UI. Hmm. Hmm. Storybook preview body. Let's copy the example. I wonder if we can find an example project as well. Pretty cool that all these storybooks are available to have a look at. Fortunately, no Radix. Try and see if that comes up. No. Let's go take a look at one. They've got a preview like that. Now I'm not sure if Chakra's got a theme provider. It's kind of cool though, we can have our storybook theme too. All right, let's go back to another project. Fluent. Yeah, sometimes the best way to understand how something should work is literally to take a look at what is currently being done with other projects. You've got an iframe resizer. Crazy. Okay, let's throw another one. Wrapper there. This looks pretty complex. Main. This is looking like it could be a winner. For example, though, we didn't actually check to see if the custom route was actually taking effect. Yeah, see, it still doesn't look like it's working. Got a default view there. We've got the storybook class. We've got a storybook route. And that is our button. Okay, so it is updating. Okay. Let's try this as well. Preview body.html. Is there a body? Maybe preview. Why is that? Preview body.js. Preview. And this is going to pull on the type, but TypeScript. We've got preview there, we've got the matches, we've got the controls. We've got that. I'm going to try something like add a preview head. Let's just go something pretty crazy and out there. Completely messed up that. Maybe something like that more. Oh, here's where I'm going wrong. Should be. That's frustrating. When you read the docs, read the docs. Back to Chrome here. Oh, we've got HTML. Still no joy. I'm just going to start and stop it. Let's refresh. Hey, we've got a custom route. We haven't got our stuff appearing there inside it. We must have to, some way that we can wrap it around. It's not going to be much fun though, because it's just going to embed it as HTML. Back to, okay, so it's got JavaScript, TypeScript. Okay, so they're all done like so. The rendering is there. We've got our style. We also need a way to get that layout working. And that's just the layout in terms of how we can see it. We want to be able to wrap, just like we've got our sort of code here in the, down here in the page. In the page has page sits inside layout, and layout has the root layout, and it also has the theme component. Okay, so that theme component is what is provided from Radix UI, and that's going to give all our coloring based on that. You know, we can add an option to this theme provider, and of course, change our colors across the board. We need to get that into our storybook so that we can actually get that same theming coming across. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit useless. So let's try and go back to my Chrome here. And in it, I've got, so story layout is how it's actually positioned on the page, which we will use. I think we should put the buttons in the center there. That would be great. It would make sense to do that. I'm actually going to do it just now. Let's do it anyway. It's going to be better. So in our preview.js, we'll copy that. So back up here in our preview.js. Go to our preview, parameters, and we've got layout. The one we want to update. Okay, I think it's centered. Like that. Okay, so we go back to our storybook. I'm not having much joy with this. Just check my spelling because that could be what's wrong. Okay, I might have to stop and start storybook potentially. Okay, so storybook's restarting there. Wow, nothing's working today. Might be time to just pack it in and start again next time. Oh, this is going terribly. Nothing is seeming to work. Let's go look at a basic version of that preview.js. Let's do with add-on. Maybe preview body. I wonder if this is because it's requiring it to sit under there. And preview head. Let's go back to our component here. And we got our custom route. I added that 123 to it. Let's stop it and start it again. That storybook, that is. Okay, so it's getting that. Let's go back to the storybook itself. Does it actually render that? It does. Okay, so you could add some HTML around it, but that's actually not really going to help us. We want to be able to add the JavaScript theme component just like we do for the standard page. And I'd like to do it at the top level rather than have to do it further down the chain in each storybook. But it's looking like that's not going to be an easy thing to do. So what can we do instead? Now we can't have, with this default here, any parameters around it. But let's have a look. So this is the default in the story. Let's just do arguments. Ah, args can modify any aspect of your component. You can use args in your stories. To configure the component's appearance similar to what you do in an application. For example, here's how you could use a footer argument to populate a child component. So it's going to import the page, have it as a child. Okay, this could actually be what we want. The only downside is this is at that story level. So we do have that render function. Some components require a harness to render in a useful way. For instance, if a component runs right up to its edges, you might want to space it inside Storybook. Use the decorator to add spacing for all stories of the component. Okay, so with that example, replace story to enable it. Context for mocking. Okay, so this is in preview.js. Back to where we started. So theme provider there, theme default. This is actually looking more like what we want. Let's try this again. Being a developer is probably 90% reading the documents, especially if you're using open source projects, just to be able to implement it in your own project. Okay, so this is my preview. I'm just going to wipe this out. I don't have style components, but what I do have is down in my layout. I have Radix UI themes. Okay, so I want to wrap my theme like so. Let's now let's see if it's getting that. Interesting enough, it's getting some styling. And it does look to be getting Radix themes. Okay, I think we're getting there. Let's go back to code. Okay, so we've got the preview. Normally you'd load in the CSS. We could just try that initially, just like we've got in the layout here. We're just sort of having a global sort of import here of our styles. No, wrong one. Okay, let's save that. Back to Chrome. Okay, so it's still not loading our style sheet. We're getting all the Radix themes, we're just not getting, you can see here, we've got no styling coming into play here. Whereas if we go back to our actual rendering of our LMS app, we go on the button, open up the inspect tools. Now we should have a whole lot of styles on the when it loads. I'm not sure why it's taking so long. Ah, I have to stop the dev environment. It should kick it off again. There we go. Cool, so we can see that there. With that button, we've got all the layout CSS coming in, which is what we want to actually have happen. This looks better in the docs. is somewhere where it's pulling in some CSS. No, don't want to touch the viewport. Again, we don't want that. That's our parameters there, which we will do later. Well, that's what we tried to do before. View component files and put CSS, this will work too. A noticeable exception is for using a CSS processor like SAS or Post CSS. Let's try that again. So it should be pulling in styles. We're in preview. We have the theme. We have the story. Decorators on Storybook. Replace story with story to enable it. You can have a function. We have the theme. We have the style sheet. We've got no issues here with that. So we've got our CSS, we've got our theme. We have the style sheet there. Let's see if we're getting that style sheet come in. It's not looking good. Let's have a look under CSS. We've got fonts. We're not getting a style sheet. Although it looks like it is. We might have to look into what Radix is doing. Because funnily enough, it looks like we have a style sheet coming in there. Let's I'm just going to comment out the CSS that is being passed in. So we should be able to refresh that now. Take a look at that component. Okay, we still are getting the style sheet. So that must be for what's coming from, what's it called? A storybook. Okay, so if it's coming from storybook, why are we not getting a style sheet? It's not maybe because of the iframe that it's using. That could potentially be it. There was talk about a preview head as well. Um, okay, so we can have in our main, we can have a link there to the JavaScript. I've got an example there with an analytics. Let's keep looking. We can add preview HTML as well. Going to look at the Radix UI styling here. Okay, let's switch back to code here. Okay, so that's not working. That, hang on. It's not as simple as that, is it? Stop and start storybook. Let's see if we can open this up a bit wider. See our components, which is not really helpful. No, still not visible. Here we go. Okay, so we've got our button. Well, we can always try and see if we can access it from the Radix folder. Okay, so let's set style sheet there. Okay. We're in Storybook. module not found. What's interesting is that as soon as I do that, it's found. It's not something to do with the actual style sheet itself. It shouldn't matter. I don't really want to do this, but I guess I can. Okay, so it doesn't like that because it's in JavaScript. Maybe if I do it in the preview head. Okay, let's do that. A bit nasty. Preview compiled with one error. What is that one error? Okay, let's get back to Chrome. Okay, so that's there. Again, this might be this actually looks like all the storybook stuff. So it hasn't loaded that. I'm going to stop and start storybook. No. That's frustrating. No matter what we do, we're not getting that style sheet in there. Don't think preview head is JavaScript. Let's go back to the docs. Preview. So layout, we've got a component. Adding to the head. Ah, it's HTML, that's probably why. No, storybook's not running. Weird, I'm not seeing it. Let's go have a look back in our browser. Gone. Where's it gone? Okay, so we've got our storybook root. We've got a whole lot of styling going on. We have our, yes, we've got our Radix theme styling. So that's a good thing. But all we got now, that button is going somewhere else completely. Now it's weird that it's there. Do we need to give it some space or something? Invalid property value. Why would it be invalid property value? It's coming from the iframe. It's there, but we can't see it. Is it CSS? No. Just there's a reset going on, which is cool. Ooh. We might have that issue with storybook versus our styling. That's there, and we know it's got all the button. Crazy. Let's have a look. Is it visible none or just transparent? I could actually just change the background color here. Okay, so it is transparent. It is trying to load it there. It is doing that. There must be something else that's added when it's imported. Hmm. It's a lot of red in our CSS anyway. Again, it's still complaining there. Data is a root theme. What's interesting is that those variables are on the root level. Got a lot of issues here though. But I can't do that. I always do have one option. Let's try making our own component that is going to wrap. We have the wrapper there. Have it like this. So this way, we could make a wrapper that we know is going to render, that we know is going to have the style sheet loaded. Okay, and we're just going to have to go into our story, look back at the storybook. We've got the main up here. We've got the preview. Let's put wrapper here. Now import. components. Dash wrapper. Okay, so that's loading there. We've got our wrapper component. We want to move our story up to here. And then we can hopefully test that out. No, it's not able to resolve, which is fine. We might have to go back a level. Oh, what has it done? That's weird. Save that. Still not playing. Okay, so we might have to actually stop and start this. Well, that's no good. uh, yes, that's working. Okay, that's working. Now we're getting this is painful. Preview head. It's probably coming from that. Let's remove that. I'm not sure if it gets refreshed. Yeah, might have to stop and start Storybook. Okay, cool. Remove that there. Our wrapper is doing that. Into our style. Let's just do it direct onto the div. While we are in JSX land. It is not defined. Right, it's really brutal. Can I actually even have a style tag embedded into JSX? I don't know if I can, but let's give it a try. gonna like that. So we're battling with JSX. What about CDN? I'm gonna select that. So this is gonna do the colors, but I don't just want the colors. Could always try. Styles.css. Okay, that's there. Okay. Got my storybook. In the head, example now. We need a link for a style sheet. Okay, so got that. Close my tag. Need to start that storybook. Here we go. Oh, what a mission. That's crazy. Uh, okay, so this did nothing in the end. We can probably get rid of that. Let's go back to our story. I mean, this does make it easier without the wrapper there. Let's try removing that. We did need the theme. Okay, let's tidy this up now. We've got the button showing. Just gonna grab the same link. Let's see it back in our VS Code so that we can actually see it. Okay, that's looking better. Remove that. We now have a head, like so, and we've got a preview body. So we can ditch the preview body, get rid of that. We can get rid of the wrapper because we're not using that anymore. Okay, so now we should be able to go, look at that, look at that. Got preview modules. Okay, I'm going to stop and start Storybook because we just want to check it one more time. It's not looking quite the same. I think there's still some issue there with style sheet. What are these? Ah, Storybook static. Looks like I've got something to fix up. I'm going to add this to my git ignore. It's a common thing with the likes of any project. Okay, so now that's much better. Storybook static's there. The build was kicked off, and that's hence why it did that. I should probably do that every once in a while. If you wanted to actually run that as a build process, maybe some artifacts or something like that, you want to part of your GitHub Actions or something like that, as part of your CI, you could do so. Okay, let's go back to here and let's make all these changes. Play button component with styling. All right, I'm going to sync those changes. And I think I'm going to call it quits now. We're at 2 hours and 10. Hopefully that was helpful. I know sometimes the battle is hard, as sometimes the thing that you want to watch. Things don't always go right. What you can expect will work, doesn't. So yeah, being able to uh, do this kind of thing and just be determined, show your grit, work through your problems, try and get back to basics, try and prove that something is or not working. That's how you can debug stuff. Um, and it's, not always the help you get is perfect. Sometimes you have to actually think about what is actually happening or what isn't happening, and go through those sort of steps to actually try and figure out what is going wrong. Now, it isn't something that you learn in like 2 seconds, but it is something that you learn over a career. Um, so, what do you do if you have those issues? Sometimes you just keep at it. Sometimes you actually walk away from the keyboard because it's easier. Come back to it, and I'm sure you'll solve the problem in your head. But otherwise, um, hopefully that was good. Have a great weekend. If you are watching this on the weekend, of course, this was live stream. Um, have a look at the other videos in this series. So you can see the last one was Storybook, where I set that up. I'm going to continue, try and be a more regular cadence so that people can watch these sort of weekly or fortnightly. And don't forget to please like and subscribe. That helps me get to more people out there. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Catch you all later.